All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in, season 2, episode 5. I wanted to jump right in with a tweet that I read last week that talked about Starbucks stock, and I think that everyone will think this is really interesting. And it reads, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the tweet, but I'll also have it for you guys that are listening on YouTube as well. But it reads, in January 2010, Starbucks did not pay a dividend. However, if you invested $10,000 in the stock, you'd now get a dividend of $1,889 per year. So $1,889 out of your $10,000 initial investment is equal to an 18.9% dividend on that stock. And the 10,000 that you initially invested, that would be 124,000. So the person that I read this tweet from, Brian Feroldi, who's an awesome follow on Twitter, one of my favorites, he says the best dividend stock you can buy today might not even pay a dividend yet. So think about this. Putting $10,000 into Starbucks, and now you get almost $1,900 per year in dividends for really just owning the stock. And that was in 2010 until now. So having that stock in your portfolio obviously did really well. And not that we can assume that that's going to happen moving forward. However, it's just really interesting to think about and really hammers home the long-term nature that investing needs to have, and or that an investor should consider when they're investing, right? There's a lot of people right now that are just looking for, a quick 10 bagger, or, what's going to double, or, things like that, where it's generally speaking a pipe dream. And that's like going back and saying, oh, well, I wish I owned Amazon back in 1999. It's like, well, you probably wouldn't have held it onto it for 20 something years because of all the volatility that the stock has experienced. However, the people that do get paid off are the long-term investors that really know that they can bet on the good things that all of the smartest people in the world are doing that run these companies. So I just thought that was really interesting and something that I wanted to share. So jumping into the next topic. So I have a couple clients, one's at CrowdStrike, one's at Verizon, and was talking to them a little bit about security and how to make sure that from a cyber standpoint, you're secure on all your passwords. And I use a vault, so I use LastPass as my vault. I think there's some other ones out there, but that's just the one that I decided to use. And we got talking about like a password protection chain. So my client made the point to me, he's like, well, if your Facebook gets hacked or whatever, it's like, okay, you just change your password. But how do you change your password? You have to send an email to whatever email address you use to log in, and then you reset it that way. However, what if the attacker has the password to your email that you use on all of your accounts? Again, that's where that chain comes in. So really talking about using a primary email for, bank logins and important logins, having the strongest password on the email address is one of the top priorities in that chain of attack. I hope that makes sense to people, but basically talking about, like, example, your Gmail address, that password should be, I think he was mentioning somewhere between 12 to 15 characters. He's a fan of using phrases, like your favorite phrase, so that you remember it easier. And making sure that, should one of your accounts, like if it's like I don't know, like a Nike login, or, just wherever you log in, it could be Twitter, it could be, anywhere where you have to create that username and password. He's like, if that account gets hacked, like if your Nike account gets hacked or whatever it is, that's not that big of a deal. However, if your email gets hacked, that allows the attacker to then change passwords on other sites, if that gets compromised, then you could be in a world of hurt. So definitely would recommend using some type of vault. Like I said, I use LastPass, and then phrases when you're talking about creating a long, secure password, and then making sure that your point of contact in that chain, as far as like security goes, password chains, that you have a secure password on the email that you use to set up your usernames for other sites. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. I guess the summary of it is make sure that your primary email password is really secure and that you are using a password vault if you possibly can. Okay, the next topic is kind of interesting. So July is Bobby Bonilla month, and July 1st, here, let me pull up the article here. I have it on my computer. Basically, in 2000, the Mets agreed to buy out $5 million on this baseball player, Bobby Bonilla's contract. However, they gave him an option, or he proposed an option, where instead of taking the $5.9 million up front, he's like, no, let's start in 10 years from now or 11 years from now, in 2011, and I will, use 8% interest on the 5.9 million, and then you pay out 1.2 is what the number turned into for 25 years. So basically he deferred this payment. They basically said, do you want 5.9 now or a payout for 25 years later? And he took the later payout. So there's a little bit more to that story, but that's the gist of it. So what's wild is I was reading an article and came across this cell phone service called Mint, and I think they used like T-Mobile towers or something. And it said you can prepay for 25 years of cell phone service. So if you have $2,500, they're pricing it at $100 a year. For $2,500, you can buy 25 years of cell phone service, which is just wild to think about. They're literally calling it the Bobby Bonilla plan. It's out of stock. It's sold out. So obviously people took action and did that. But my concern, I guess, would be what if the company goes out of business? Or what if they, I don't know, I didn't read through all the terms and conditions, but what if they get acquired and the new company doesn't honor that contract? So it's really interesting, but I just thought it was wild. I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was just kind of funny. But paying $2,500 for 25 years of cell phone service. And then I guess my last point on that, on top of it, is think about 25 years ago. Like cell phones were just starting, maybe not even a thing yet. So I can't imagine what's going to happen 25 years from now. Where will this even be relevant then? Will 5G even be relevant? I don't know. So it's just something really quirky and interesting that I read and wanted to bring it up since Bobby Bonilla Day is July 1st and it's July. So, all right, the last one that I wanted to discuss is talking about Medicaid assets. So, let me talk a little bit about Medicaid in general. So, if you have a long-term care or an extended care event, basically meaning that you're unable to do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, bathing, eating, going to the bathroom, etc., then you could be considered to have a long-term care event. And so there are a few different ways to pay it. Like let's say that you need someone to come in your home, or let's say that it's full-blown nursing home or something like that. Well, you obviously get a bill to cover that cost of care. So Medicare covers it for the first, few days. And then after that time is up, it's like 80 days, and then they cover a percentage of the next 20. So either way, then you get the bill, and if you can private pay, right? You can pay out of your savings. You can use insurance, like long-term care insurance, or you can apply for Medicaid and have the government assist you on paying for those care costs. So I was looking through this for a client, and we were talking about, okay, if she had a Medicaid event or a long-term care event, what assets in her portfolio would need to be spent before she would qualify for Medicaid? And she had, her primary house, she had an IRA, she had a taxable investment account, and she had a Roth IRA. So we were looking at and she's single. We were looking at putting the home in an irrevocable trust. We were looking at doing some other things with the taxable investment account. However, here's where I'm going with this. We talk a lot about doing Roth conversions for clients, basically turning their traditional IRA dollars into Roth dollars. And why someone would want to do that was because they are prepaying the taxes on their IRA dollars by doing the conversion so that the dollars in their Roth moving forward can be withdrawn free of tax, which is really great to have a tax-free account sitting on your balance sheet. However, looking through assets that would have to get spent before you can qualify for Medicaid, IRAs, and this varies by state, but just as a general concept, IRAs, you can basically get around needing to spend them and have those be included in the calculations to qualify for Medicaid, which is good, which means you get to keep that money and you don't have to spend it on care to qualify for Medicaid. However, a Roth does not have that same treatment. And the difference is with what we call being in the payout phase. So with IRAs and 401ks, you have to take required distributions from age 72 and beyond. Roth IRAs do not have that stipulation. Therefore, Roth IRAs can never be, quote unquote, in payout phase, even if someone is taking money from it. So that asset is included, generally speaking, when you are calculating the qualifications to get on Medicaid. So this is something when we talk Roth conversions that literally never gets brought up. And it's probably, relatively niche in the fact that it doesn't affect everyone, but it's something to at least be aware of, especially if you're planning to self-fund a long-term care event and or try to qualify for Medicaid by moving your assets into an irrevocable trust, and you're planning to get past the 5-year look back, et cetera, et cetera. So in summary, make sure before doing a Roth conversion, you at least think about that again if your plan is to self-fund long-term care or a long-term care event. So I don't mean to end it on something so somber and solemn, but I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that came up in real life and something that never gets talked about. So in summary for everything, right? The best dividend stock that you can buy today may not even pay a dividend yet. I think that's huge, right? Imagine buying Starbucks in 2010, and now you have basically an all but, I hate using this word, especially in investments, you have an all but guaranteed dividend of 18.9% on your initial $10,000 investment. So 18.9% in dividends every year, and your original 10K went up to 124. That's huge. Make sure that your passwords are secure and you don't use the same password across the board for every single account. You can get a password vault that remembers passwords for you so you can remember your very secure master password. And then the final one, I don't know who would do this, but prepaying your cell phone bill for 25 years. Sounds kind of wild to do, but maybe for $100 a year, people were like, whatever, let's try it. So I'll leave it here. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on What Are Your Thoughts?